Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name's Danielle Hart, for those of you that don't know me, and I'm going to be the presider this morning. So, welcome to Bedford United Church. It's supposed to be beautiful. Actually, the sun is out, so it is going to be a beautiful day. And basically today, Reverend David is going to consider why church, and this community in particular, is an important and unique antidote to, guess what? Community. So basically, this church is an antidote, basically, to that sense of isolation and loneliness that we feel. We welcome you all to this service, those that are here, those that are online, those that will be online later. You're all important. And we, of course, welcome you, especially if you're a first-time person. And if you notice somebody that you don't recognize, please say hi. If you're new, please introduce yourself. I'm sure that every member of this congregation will be happy to show you around and make you feel welcome. So may all of us experience the presence of the divine in the service today and be blessed in some way by all that's been offered or is offered during this time of worship together. That's our intention today. Now we have Carson Gillis up today to light the Christ candle and the inclusivity candle. So Carson, if you would come up, that would be great.
Good morning, everyone. How are we all doing? God is here. All the time. All are welcome. All the time.
I'm going to now just do the land acknowledgement. So as we begin, I just want to reiterate that we at Bedford United Church acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki. It's the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We remember that this territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which the Mi'kmaq and the Maliseet people first signed by with the British Crown in 1725, so quite a while ago. Treaties which recognized the Mi'kmaq and Maliseet title to the land and established the rules for an ongoing relationship between the nations. Of course, we know that the historical record of colonization documents the treaties weren't honored, and there were many injustices suffered by the Mi'kmaq and Maliseet people. And because we are all treaty people as Nova Scotians, it's up to us to inform ourselves, to act and to speak in ways that allow for justice, healing, and reconciliation. May we work together to make it so. Our opening music is being offered by Tony and Julie today, so welcome to you both.
Good morning, everyone, and everyone at home. Please rise as you're able. And we're going to sing Dance with the Spirit. And you can do that if you feel so led to do so. Dance with the Spirit early in the morning. Walk with the Spirit throughout the long day. Work and hope for the new life we're born, and listen to the Spirit to show you the way. Dance with the Spirit. Dance with the Spirit early in the morning. Walk with the Spirit throughout the long day. Work and hope for the new life we're born, and listen to the Spirit to show you the way. Move with the Spirit. Move with the Spirit early in the morning. Move with the Spirit throughout the long day. Work and hope for a new life reborn. Listen to the Spirit to show you the way. Sing. Sing with the Spirit early in the morning. Sing with the Spirit throughout the long day. Work and hope for a new life reborn, and listen to the Spirit to show you the way. Dance with the Spirit. Dance with the Spirit early in the morning. Walk with the Spirit throughout the long day. Work and hope for the new life reborn, and listen to the Spirit to show you the way. And we're going to sing next, Better is One Day in Your Courts. How lovely is your dwelling place. Why, church? Because it's lovely. How lovely is your dwelling place. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord Almighty. For my soul longs and even faints for you. For here my heart is satisfied within your presence. I sing beneath the shadow of your wings. Better is one day in your courts. Better is one day in your house. Better is one day in your courts than thousands elsewhere. Better is one day in your courts. Better is one day in your house. Better is one day in your courts than thousands elsewhere. Than thousands elsewhere. This thing I ask, and I would seek to see your beauty, to find you in the place your glory dwells. One thing I ask, and I would seek to see your beauty, to find you in the place your glory dwells. Better is one day. Better is one day in your courts. Better is one day in your house. Better is one day in your courts than thousands elsewhere. Better is one day in your courts. Better is one day in your house. Better is one day in your courts than thousands elsewhere. Better is one day. Better is one day in your courts. Better is one day in your house. Better is one day in your courts than thousands elsewhere. One last time. Better is one day in your courts. Better is one day in your house. Better is one day in your courts than thousands elsewhere. Than thousands elsewhere. You can be seated.
Some of you, come on up. And Emma and our youth are going to lead a time with you, right? Yeah, so come on up. Yeah. These folks, this is their last Sunday with us. They've been just a wonderful presence, right? Nathan and Isaac and Emma and Claire, she's coming up to the front. Give them a big hand because they have just been an absolutely stellar leadership team for our youth over the summer. And we're delighted to have them leading our children's time today. It's great to have you.
So we have had the privilege of doing 2 summer camps this summer. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about the things that we did at our summer camps. And so our first summer camp was Rainbow Camp, which we had talked about a couple weeks ago. And so this time we did a Changemakers Camp. And so we looked at lots of different things that we can do to go out into the world and be change makers, and learned about what it means to be a change maker. And so can anyone tell me what a change maker is? Does anyone know? So a change maker is someone who goes out and does really amazing things and tries to make the world a better place. And this can be small actions like picking up garbage, or these can be really big things. Like, does anyone have an example of a really big change? Like talking to people, that can be really scary, right, about things that you want to happen. So I know there's lots of little and big things that we can do. Does anyone have anything that they like to do to be change makers? Sometimes it can be becoming part of your community and volunteering. So there's lots of different things we can do. So we want to talk about some different activities that we did this week to talk about being change makers.
So last week at our summer camp, we did a few different activities. Sorry.
Like a hot dog.
A hot dog? Okay.
A hot dog?
Yeah, so some of the activities we did during the summer camp were getting our hands dirty and planting some seeds to symbolize like growth. Another one we did was we made gingerbread cookies with the kids to help, and it would show who they are. They could like decorate it. And another thing we did was we all came together and made a diversity puzzle. We would decorate each puzzle piece by ourselves, and we would all come together to make a whole puzzle together. So those were some of the activities we did.
So some of the games that we played and activities that we did was spreading joy outside in the parking lot with chalk. We played Wax Museum and Human Knot to help us all work together, and the kids really enjoyed Sally Green. If you don't know who Sally Green is, she's very picky.
The most picky, some would say. And of all of these games taught us so many valuable things to be a change maker. Can you tell me how you can be a change maker this week? Can you? Yeah?
Picking garbage up.
That's a really good one. Anyone else? How can I be a change maker? I wasn't prepared for that question. Oh yeah, we are making food for Hope Cottage. I'll be a change maker that way. Yeah.
You can give someone a great big hug who might not be looking very happy on one day, right? Give them a
That's
great big
very
hug.
true.
Yeah.
That's a way to be a change maker.
So now we have a little repeat after me prayer for right before we go to Sunday school. So, dear God,
Dear God,
thank you for all of the things that let us be change makers.
thank you for all the things that let us be change makers.
We are so grateful to live in a place
We are so grateful to live in a place
that allows us to be the change makers we wish to be.
that allows us to be the change makers we wish to be.
We are so thankful for the ability to go out into the world. We are so
thankful
to
for the ability to go out into the world
and share our light and generosity.
and share our light and generosity.
Help us to be change makers every day.
Help us to be change makers every day.
Amen.
Amen.
Would anyone like to bring the light to Sunday school? Does everyone want to come and do it? Does anyone want to light the candle? Yeah, I will happily do it. So, there was once someone who said such amazing things and did such wonderful things that people began to follow them. And as they followed them, they wanted to know more about who they were. And one time when they asked, they said, "I am the light." Awesome.
Thank you so much for that message, actually. It's a good reminder to be a change maker. I'm going to read the Bible reading today. Mike? Oh, here we go. Okay. Paul is one of the great founders and teachers of the early Christian community. As Christianity spread from present-day Israel around the Mediterranean, a group of early Christians became established in Rome. Paul is preparing to visit the church in Rome and hopes to move on from there to establish Christianity in Spain. In preparation for his visit to the Roman church community, he writes them what is widely considered his most famous letter, and that is the letter to the Romans. The passage that I'm about to read from you comes from that letter. I'm reading from the inclusive version of the Bible, and the verse that I'm reading is Romans chapter 12, verses 4 to 13. Paul says, "Just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members don't have the same function, so all of us, in union with Christ, form one body. And as members of that one body, we belong to each other. We have gifts that differ according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophecy, use it in proportion to your faith. If your gift is ministry, use it for service. If you are a teacher, use your gifts for teaching. If you are good at preaching, then preach boldly. If you give to charity, do so generously. If you are a leader, exercise your authority with care. If you help others, do so cheerfully. Your love must be sincere. Hate what is evil and cling to what is good. Love one another with the affection of sisters and brothers. Try to outdo one another in showing respect. Don't grow slack, but be fervent in spirit. The one you serve is Christ. Rejoice in hope. Be patient under trial. Persevere in prayer. Look on the needs of God's holy people as your own. Be generous in offering hospitality. Do all you can to be at peace with everyone. May the Spirit bless us with insight and inspiration from this reading.
And thank you, Danielle, for sharing that reading with us this morning. This is kind of a cool morning because I think this is the first time in all our years here that Danielle and I have actually shared leadership in worship at the same time. So I think that's kind of cool, don't you? I think that's kind of... I think that's kind of cool. That's kind of fun. And we got to keep Julie 2 weeks in a row. That's also kind of cool. And Tony's back, which is also wonderful. And I, too, want to extend a very warm welcome to everybody and people who might be visiting with us today. And for those of you who are in our online community as well, a very warm welcome to all of you as well. It's, we're into countdown, right? It's 3 weeks to the day when our new lead minister, Reverend Beth Hayward, is going to be coming on board. Are you excited? You ought to be. You ought to be excited. It's, I know I'm excited and really, really looking forward to Beth's coming on board and to her leadership. And we actually, you know what? It's kind of neat this morning because although Beth isn't here yet, her mother is. And where are you, Mary? You're around here. There she is. Mary, you got to stand up. I'm not going to let you get away with this. Stand up. This is Beth's mother. And Mary is a longtime member of the congregation. She's also a bona fide United Church of Canada minister, wonderfully talented, been serving our church for years. But lots of people didn't put that connection between her and Beth together because Beth has been serving out in Vancouver for many years. So we sort of knew you had kids, but the Spirit works in mysterious ways. The Spirit works in mysterious ways. It's a small world. So we're delighted to have, Mary's had a little bit of a shoulder injury, just like I had too a year ago, and so she's been away a little while, but she's back this morning to church, and I think we're going to see a whole lot more of you, Mary, in the days and years to come. So it's an exciting time. I've been sort of prepping all of us for Beth's arrival by doing a little mini-series these last 3 Sundays, or these last few Sundays in August. I've been doing this little mini-series on why church, right? What is it about church that is so important to our culture and to our world? And why is it that it's something that we need to really, really support? And you've got a wonderful new leader who's coming on board, and we need to really get behind her and really support her in a wonderful way, and all of us work together to make this a truly dynamic and vibrant community. And last Sunday, I spoke about the role of the church in presenting to the world, in providing the world with a vision of unity and oneness in a world that is so polarized and so tribal and has become so fractioned. It's there's no organization that really says collectively to the society, this is not what God's intent is for how we live our lives. So the church has a very, very important role and vision and message to share with the world. So that's what we spoke about last week. This week, I want to speak about another reason why church is so very, very important in our culture and in our world. And it's a little bit more maybe mundane in some ways, but equally important. And it's not the only institution that fulfills this role, but it is the institution in our society that is best suited to fulfill this role. And so one of the things I want to talk about today is I want to talk about loneliness. Loneliness. How many of you have ever experienced loneliness? I'm glad a lot of you are putting up your hands. I'm glad a lot of you, and if you're not, you're actually a liar and you should behave yourself. Because actually, I am sure that we have all experienced loneliness from time to time in our lives, right? But, like myself, many of you will have been, we all watch the news, we all pay attention to current events. And over the last few years, we've progressively seen news stories that speak about the fact that the world is experiencing an epidemic of loneliness. Have you seen news headers like that? The world is experiencing an epidemic of loneliness. And we've heard about how the rates of depression and suicide have increased. And it's true that COVID was really kind of one of those moments in our history as human beings that really accentuated this issue of loneliness for all of us, right? But social scientists have actually been tracking this increase in loneliness in our culture since the 1970s. And what they've been observing is that there is a direct increasing line, a direct linear line of increases in people who self-identify as being lonely and deeply lonely in our society and in our culture. And like I said, along with that self-identification of loneliness has also increased stats related to depression and suicide around the world as well. But what social scientists and epidemiologists are also finding out is that loneliness is connected not just with the sort of traditional things like depression that we would think about, but that loneliness is actually also connected with other illnesses like diabetes, like dementia, like heart disease. They've been able to trace how loneliness impacts those medical conditions as well. That loneliness affects the chemicals and the very functioning of our bodies in all sorts of negative ways. In fact, I read a stat not too long ago that suggests that deep loneliness is the equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So that doesn't grab your attention, nothing will, right? Like that's a pretty powerful kind of statement, right? So many people who research this are saying that the loneliness epidemic is actually greater than the obesity and the diabetes epidemics. And they actually have an even more dramatic impact on overall health. Now, another surprising thing as you look into this whole issue is that, like, traditionally, who do we think that loneliness affects the most? Extroverts. Well, extroverts, that's good, Nancy. Traditionally, it's thought that loneliness impacts the elderly the most, right? So as people age, so you lose all the social connectivity that's part of your workplace, right? So as you leave that behind, loneliness starts to increase as you get older. And then kids grow up and they leave home, right? And that's a factor that contributes to loneliness. And then also, dear friends often move away into different circumstances of their lives. And good friends die. That's one of the dreadful things about getting older is that your friends start to knock off, right? They start to die. But studies have shown that loneliness doesn't just impact the elderly. Loneliness impacts young people as well. And they've done lots of studies with university and college age students that show that their increases of self-professed loneliness have increased dramatically as well. And this is young people who are living in universities and colleges, in dorms, in residences, surrounded by people, and yet they're lonely in a larger kind of crowd. So it's a significant issue in our culture. So why? Why have these increases in loneliness started to climb since the 1970s? Well, some of the rationale given for this is that, all the technology out there was supposed to make us all work less and have more time. Is that anyone's experience? Nobody I know is working less. In fact, everybody's working more. Most families, in order to make economic means meet, both parents are working all the time. Both partners are working. Singles are often working more than one job. They're working 2, 3 jobs just to make ends meet. Okay. So everybody's working more, and there's less time to really engage socially. On top of that, technology, so it figures this way. So technology has made entertainment so available to us as individuals and in our own homes. So you come home and you're tired after a long day of work, and the last thing you feel like doing is going out and bowling with a group of friends. And so instead, what do? You sit down, you watch YouTube, you go on to social media, you play video games of some sort or the other. And so the technology has allowed kind of interesting and fascinating forms of entertainment to become more and more individualized and more localized into our own homes as well, right? And then the other thing is that those phones that we have, and again, the social media that seems to make everybody ultra hyper-connected. We shouldn't be lonely because we're all so hyper-connected to one another nowadays. But it's different having your face in the little screen talking to someone or texting to someone versus having a face-to-face kind of time spent together. And so in actual fact, all this technology, instead of actually increasing our intimacy and decreasing our sense of loneliness, actually increases our sense of isolation and decreases our sense of intimacy with one another. Now, you know, so what's the antidote for all of this? Part of the truth of the matter is, and that's why I was okay with asking you all to put up your hands if you're ever lonely. Because loneliness is something that's built into the human condition, right? We are encapsulated spirits. In order to create identities, the great creator of the universe, the wonderful God, had to put limitations around us, gave us bodies, gave us minds, but these bodies and minds are forms of encapsulation. They're forms of isolation and separation. By virtue of me being me, I have to be separate from Harold over here. And I love him dearly, but he's Harold, and he has a lot of talents that I have no clue about. He's such a wonderful carpenter. Danielle always says, I wish you had some of Jesus' other characteristics when it comes around the house. She loves you, Harold, absolutely. So, you know, it's, in order to be me, in order for Harold to be Harold, I have to be separate, right? I have to be, in some sense, there's isolation and distinctiveness, and loneliness is built into the very fabric of my being, right? Because I am encapsulated in this individual form. So part of this whole loneliness thing is recognizing loneliness is inherent in the human condition. We will all experience loneliness. We have to. It's just part of how we're structured. It's part of how we're designed. And you know, the thing about Facebook that is so obnoxious is that when you're on Facebook, and you're looking at all the fun things your friends are doing, and they're all having a great time everywhere, and you're stuck at home watching what they are doing, and you feel so miserable and isolated and alone. In actual fact, it's all nonsense, right? It's all of us, and your friends too. Believe me, what's put on Facebook is always the nice picture, right? It's not what's really going on behind the scenes, right? So if we can understand that loneliness is built into our condition, it's natural and normal for all of us. It destigmatizes it somewhat for us, right? It normalizes it for us. And so that helps to alleviate some of it for us. But this is where I come to the whole business of church. The real antidote for loneliness is community. Right? The real antidote for loneliness is community. And, you know, we have that story of Adam and Eve, right? God creates Adam in the beginning. And at some point, God says, what? God says, it is not good for Adam to be alone. And therefore I shall make a partner for Adam. And not just a human partner, but there's all the animals as well, I'm not going to get into that part of this sort of conversation, but that's a whole other part of the conversation. right there at the beginning of our scripture, it's clearly stated that God designed human beings to be in community, to be there for one another. And if you look at the whole ministry of Jesus, right? Jesus didn't do his ministry in isolation and alone. What did he do? He gathered disciples around him. He gathered friends around him, right? And they went out together. Now, Jesus didn't just do this because he knew he needed helpers to do the job, which he did, because he couldn't do it all himself. But Jesus did this because he knew when he was gone, they are going to need one another. They are going to need each other for support and care and guidance. My friends are going to need to care for one another, to just give them the strength and the courage and the sense of joy in terms of engaging in my ministry. And so Jesus called his disciples together to work together as community. And then the early church very much took that to heart. The early church was very communal, and people south of the border would hate to say that they were communists, but in actual fact, they shared all their possessions. They shared their wealth. They tried to live out what they saw as this real ideal that Jesus had of a real egalitarian community where everybody shares everything and lives together and works together and cares for one another. And that's why Paul, in the passage that Danielle read for you earlier, Paul says, we all have different gifts and abilities. We all have different skills. But we all belong to one community. We belong to the body of Christ. And we belong to one another, he actually says. We belong to one another. And then he says, and I think this one, because my brothers drowned when I was a kid, right? So I haven't had siblings for most of my life. But I know brothers and sisters don't always show the affection that Paul is hoping that they'll show for one another. But the intention is there, he says, show the affection towards one another that siblings have for each other, right? Love each other the way siblings are called to love one another. So you see, there are many organizations that provide opportunities for fellowship and community. And so there's sports organizations, and there are service organizations, there are political groups. Most communal organizations offer opportunities for fellowship and community. But it is only the church, the spiritual community, that has it built into its mandate to provide community and support and love and affection for the part of your community. That's part of your raison d'etre, is just that. It's not to do other things, it's just that. To be there for one another, to love for one another, to care for one another, to alleviate this existential loneliness that we all feel in our hearts and beings. I was supposed to go up to the piano before. I sometimes forget things, right? And I was going to get a key to sing this in. So our mission statement, you ready for this once again? I'm going to sing our mission statement for you one more time. If I can pull off a key. Tony, you give me a key that you think I could sing in. Do, do, ah, ah, ah. Our mission is to be, that's going to be too high, right? Our mission is to be a vibrant Christian community, worshiping God, growing spiritually, accepting all people, ministering to each other in love, and offering hope while working for peace and justice for all creation. I pulled it off from there to there, right? It's okay. But it's built into our mission. It's built into our raison d'etre to accept each other, to care for one another, to love one another. And that's one of the reasons why church is so important to the world, because it offers that kind of a place and that kind of an opportunity. But, now there's a proviso. There's always a but, there's always a proviso to this. And I said this when I first began with you back in April for this little stint I'm doing. I shared with you back then, we mustn't become sort of deluded into thinking that this kind of community can happen via technology. It requires in-person presence with one another. Now, to all you folks out there online, we are delighted to be able to stream our services to you, and we have a wonderful team. It's a wonderful service. And for people who are shut-ins, we know it's a good thing and it's better than nothing. But for those of you who are online and aren't here just because you didn't want to get in the car this morning or coming out, it's not the same. Going to, I'll use the example of a rock concert. Going to a rock concert live and watching it on YouTube is not the same experience, is it? Going to any kind of musical concert. Going to a sports game and watching it online versus watching it on YouTube is not the same. There is something about being in each other's physical presence that releases chemicals and endorphins, that increases our sense of intimacy, that decreases our sense of loneliness, that is so critically important for all of us. And that is true for church as well. Church is a place where we are embodied spirits, where we need to come together as embodied human beings to be able to hug one another in physical presence, to share touch, to share eye-to-eye contact. It is so important. And for folks who can't get out to church, we should make every effort to try and bring those folks out to church so they can experience what incarnation. God didn't come alive in a robot. God came alive in a flesh and blood human form of Jesus because our biology is so important. So church, another reason church is so critically important to our world is that it embodies God's intention for human beings. It proclaims that intention, and it seeks to live out that intention as a place where we gather together in our flesh and blood bodies. We were made, isolation and separateness is built into us, and God couldn't take that away, but what God did do is God made us for one another, and God gave us to one another. And that's what community is about, and that is the special gift that spiritual community provides. So that's what we got to continue trying to create here at BUC, right? That's what we want to continue, and when Beth comes on board, we want to make this a strong, vibrant place that has people gathering in person, sharing their love and support for one another. And one of the gifts we give each other in that process is alleviating our inbred sense of aloneness and isolation and loneliness. And thereby, we heal the world. The Spirit in me honors the Spirit in all of you. Amen.
That was beautiful. And so well positioned too, because we have a chance now to give our offering. As you know, that all we do here is in the world is guided by Spirit at work through us and is powered by your support. And that support is so appreciated. There are many ways to give to Bedford United Church, as you know. One is pre-authorized remittance. One is e-transfer, checks and cash in the plate, that kind of thing. If you give in one of those ways, you're not putting money in the plate, you're not putting an envelope in the plate, please pass your hand over the plate and offer a blessing to that has been contributed. And of course, our heartfelt thanks to every member of the congregation for all that you give, all your generous support, including the work and the other talents and whatever that you contribute to this community. It is so appreciated. So if the ushers want to come forward, please. Excuse my phone that I forgot to silence. Thank you. Let's say a prayer of gratitude. Holy Mystery, we acknowledge the gift of this precious day and of our precious lives, the gifts that were offered this morning in this service, and the specific gifts and talents that each of us offers. We are blessed with an amazing abundance. With grateful hearts, we offer these monetary gifts, as well as our time and our talent, to be used for the life and work of this church and of the wider world. Help us to use these gifts wisely to further your mission in this world. Amen. Thanks so much. And now we have an opportunity to pray together as a community. This is one of the things that we do, that we join together as a community. And so I'd ask you to do that now. Let's just close our eyes for a moment if you're comfortable and take a few deep breaths just to center ourselves and to become present together. Holy Mystery, you hold us all in your embrace. Your presence reminds us that we are never alone, that you dwell in each of us, and thus that we are joined together. For this reality, we are incredibly grateful. We take in a moment to be aware of this truth, to know it, and to give thanks. Holy Mystery, we are grateful for all the beings that share this planet with us. Stone beings, the tree beings, the plant beings, and all the animal beings. We are grateful for the air we breathe and share, the water we drink. We're grateful for the land that nourishes us all, and that also grounds us. We are also aware how everything is connected, and how you are present in it all. We take a moment now to experience this truth, to know it, and to give thanks. We are aware also of how little we actually know, and we're humbled by the magical created world. For this reason, we allow you, the one who knows, to guide our actions. Your guidance is always available to us and always points us to true north. We listen now to your quiet voice in the stillness of this moment. Holy Mystery, for this awareness of your presence and our interconnectedness with all of creation, we act on your guidance to share our gifts, to help each other, to hold each other in our thoughts and prayers. We recognize that you made us for community, and so we work together for the common good and the greater good. We take a moment now again to experience this truth in our hearts. Help us to understand your vision for this community of Bedford United Church, Help us to open our hearts to your vision and to each other. Help us to accept our part, our contribution in the building and sustaining this community for the benefit of ourselves, our elders, and most of all, our children, who are the future and who need to experience community so that they too can contribute their gifts. We take a moment now to allow this truth to rest in our hearts, and we commit to looking for your vision for your community. Holy Mystery, in this quiet moment, we offer our individual prayers, whatever form they may take. We know that in your love, every prayer is heard and honored. Holy Mystery, we now allow your peace, which is always available to each of us, to fill us. We are so grateful that this peace is available in every moment that we seek and allow it to come into our awareness. In this quiet moment, we allow your peace to come, and we give thanks. Thank you, Holy Mystery, for all you are to each of us and to our community. We are so grateful. Amen.
Before we sing our next song, I just want to thank Caitlin Bowers, who has been filling in for me through the spring and the summer. It's not easy to find someone, so to get someone who's capable, I'm so happy and appreciative of you. Can we give her a hand, please? If you are comfortable in doing so, please stand, and we're going to sing together, Spirit God, Be Our Breath. Spirit God, be our breath, be our song, blow through us, bringing strength to move on. Our world seems inward,
defensive, withdrawn.
Spirit God, be our song. Patient God, soothe our pride, calm our fear. Comfort us when we know you are near. We grow more certain, our vision is clear. Patient God, calm our fear. Loving God, be our voice, be our prayer. Reaching out, joining hands as we share. We seek your guidance through friendship and care. Loving God, be our prayer. Spirit God, be our breath, be our song. go through us, bringing strength to move on. Through change, through challenge, we'll greet the new dawn. Spirit God, be our song. Please take your seats.
And our announcements are very short this week. The first is just to announce that as part of the community, just to be aware of the community meal on Sunday, September 29th. And Jocelyn Tingley's in charge, and she's been emailing people and asking for help. And please, if you notice that you can help, please do. It's a wonderful service to the larger community, both our immediate community and also the wider community, and especially the wider community. And the second thing is that there is a funeral this week, and I don't know if David's mentioned.
Can I just speak to that? Thanks, Danielle. We've had two real losses in our community over the last week. One is a Mr. Laurie Orr, who passed away, and Laurie's just been a long time connected with the congregation. His daughter Melanie Orr is a wonderful part of this community, and we extend our best wishes to Melanie and to the whole family. There will be a private graveside service for Laurie at a later date. But we've also lost another longtime member of the community very suddenly, Mr. Laurie Bonus as well. And many of you will remember Laurie and Ann, and Laurie's been a part of this church for a long time. His son Lance is here with us today. And we express our deepest condolences to Lance, to you, and to your whole family on the passing of your father. And that service will be held here tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. So the congregation is invited to join. Many of you will know Laurie. He was just a wonderful, cheery, lively. He was an elder, an usher, a visitor, served communion with us all the time. Just a beautiful human being, and it's a deep loss. So condolences to that whole family and the services here at 1 tomorrow. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you. And I just mentioned also that there's a news email that comes out once a week to everyone, usually on a Thursday. If you are not on that list, you're missing out. So please call the church and let them have your emails so that they can send that to you. It's a great place to get information. So we're going to extinguish the candles now, and I'm going to offer a closing benediction. As we come to the end of the service, first of all, I just want to thank everyone, everyone that was involved. Tony and Julie, the AV team, Carson who lit the candles, David for his message, and all the other unsung heroes that we don't talk about that are behind the scenes. And of course, most importantly, thank you to you for coming, because we wouldn't be a community and we wouldn't be Bedford United without you. So thank you so much for being here. So as you leave this sacred place, renewed by all that has been shared in this precious community, may you carry with you God's blessing. As we extinguish the candles, we remember that we are never alone. The smoke sort of symbolizes that as it goes out. The divine light goes with us and continues to shine through each of us. May we share with others this abundant and beautiful light this week, because through that sharing, we will be blessed and we will be a blessing. May God's endless peace go with you.
As we sing, peace be with you, please stand if you're able. And while we sing this, shake your neighbor's hand, give someone a hug, wish them a good week. And here we go. Peace be with you, peace forever. Peace be with you, my friends, till we meet again. May God be with you. Peace, peace, peace. Peace be with you, peace forever. Peace be with you, my friends, till we meet again. May God be with you. Peace, peace. peace, everyone.